why is it like within at least my age group, you know, where there is these very high rates of like depression and anxiety amongst that.
Yeah.
And why is it within that demographic of people that it seems to come out the most? And it seems like it's happening younger and younger and younger.
Yeah.
It's younger I looked up a statistic recently where it's much younger in the States than it is in New Zealand. Like the average age, I believe, here in New Zealand is like 24 or something like that.
Right.
But why is it? Yeah. Why?
I brought a few stats with
let's see
me.
what you got.
Did I even? So what's this say? It says 1 in 5 will have a serious mood disorder at some time in their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for New Zealanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 in 7 young people in New Zealand will experience a major depressive disorder, and 1 in 5 will experience some kind of serious mood disorder before the age of 24.
What's a serious mood disorder classified as?
So like a serious mood disorder would be something like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia,
Mm-hmm.
you know, major depressive disorder would be a serious mood disorder. But yeah, I was hoping we would talk about this because I'm really curious about it. How old are you?
24.
24.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're in that demographic. You're in your last year of adolescence.
I know, it's like the fun. Then I can start doing all sorts of drugs,
Your
drinking. My
prefrontal
brain's
cortex is
developed.
you're like shit.
Yeah,
now I've gotta
you ready? You ready for 26, baby?
It's like, oh man, now I can think about the consequences.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what I hear a lot in my practice, because I do work with a fair amount of young people between 18 and 25.
Mm.
And there's so much social anxiety, right?
Mm.
There's this fear of awkwardness. I have never heard the word awkward used so much.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, to be awkward. Ooh, I don't want to be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm like, well, why don't you just talk to them?
Yeah.
You know, like, why don't you tell them how you feel about that? You know, ooh, that would be awkward. So that's one thing. I just don't, I think possibly because everything is done via text, right? Like, I'll find myself often, young people will be telling me about a conversation that they've had with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, what was their facial expression like? Or what did they, you know, how did they say, oh, no, this was all over text.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, right. So you miss all the nuances
Mm-hmm.
of communication via text, right? You lose the things that our nervous system needs to process information,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like tone of voice, facial expression, body language, movement. So I think that's part of the problem. And again, I am not an expert. I've not done research on this, but it's anecdotal. I think that young people have lost the ability to have conversations,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with each other, and to really like, you know, especially difficult conversations, you know, when they feel hurt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or when they're angry. You know, there's so much avoidance around that. And I just think it's really unhealthy. And then people don't learn, oh, actually, I can have those hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm still okay. I haven't fallen apart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, and you're still my friend? What? Wait.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's part of it.
It's
ahead.
it's interesting that because it sounds like to me it's almost like we have this this ability to really put forth the best image that we can, and we can be more deliberate about it, you know, just in the writing of a message, you know, like I can construct the perfect message.
Yeah.
But then when you translate that into an actual conversation,
Yeah.
it's just so weird. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to bed. Tapping out. I'm done. I can't do this. But you know what I
don't
mean?
have words.
Yeah.
I can't find my words.
Can I just text it to you?
Yeah, well, that's true, you know, because you know, like in your brain when you're stressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your amygdala is firing, you know, the part of your brain that, you know, manages language goes offline, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've heard of the you know, your brain, your cortex has been hijacked, right, by the amygdala.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, if that's firing, then, you know, I can't think clearly. I can't find my words, you know, and that's, you know, designed, right, to like just get us the hell out
Fight
of
or
there,
flight.
right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's where, again, like being mindful, slowing down, taking breaths, like, you know, you have to downregulate your fight or flight. You know, you've got to like kind of put on the brakes, if you will, you know, because if you think about like the fight or flight or the sympathetic nervous system is like your accelerator in your body, right? If that's revved up, you know, you're not
even present. That's the other thing. You're not present.
You're so worried about how,
sure,
you know, like even me before this podcast, right? I was like, oh God, what if my voice shakes?
You were fucking weird.
You know, like, oh my God, my voice is going to shake.
You were not weird, by the way. But I know what you mean. Yeah. And
you know,
you see it in conversations with people sometimes as well, where it's like you can see them kind of trying to anticipate how to have a conversation and anticipate what you're saying, and it just doesn't, there's no flow.
Right. There's no flow. There's no connection.
Yeah.
I'm all up in my head about this conversation. And I'm worrying, I've got this worry about how you're perceiving me and whether you're judging me, right? Whether I'm smart enough, funny enough, whatever it is, right? And so if I'm all up in there, then I'm not in my body, really, right? So I'm not present, I'm not connected, I'm not like tuned into you, you know.
And was that not the case? Do you feel like it's just more of the case now? Or, I mean, surely, because to me that just sounds like such a, you know, part and parcel part of being a human being. But it's become more exaggerated now.
I don't know. You know, I only have my own experience to compare it to, and kind of growing up in the 80s and what that was like, you know, which, of course there were mean, you know, like
mean people.
Kids were assholes, you know, back then as well. But, so no, it's more like a, you know, again, kind of observations from my own practice, right? Which again is what I can speak to. But also I have 2 teenagers, you know, that are 19 and 16. And, you know, so much of their conversations are just over that platform. And I guess that, you know, I just have to accept that, right? Yeah. Like that's how it's going to be. And I'm not going to change any of that. But I do, like, I have a real kind of dream, I guess, you know, like a way to bring people together and to get people back to really connecting with each other. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to do with, you know, politics or, you know what I mean? Like we can come together when there's stuff like that going down, right? Like climate change or, you know, Black Lives Matter, you know, I mean, in some ways, right? But like, I just, you know, how do we just bring people together to be like kinder and more accepting and more curious about each other? I don't know.